Okay, the name of the podcast is Fat Mascara. Obviously, we, the hosts, get asked all the time about false eyelashes, how to apply them, what's the trick? I mean, they are hard. But you know what I'm doing from now on, Jess? I'm just going to point the people to Impress Press-On Falsies. They're so much easier. You don't even need to learn tricks and steps. They're so easy.
Forget tricks. You don't even need glue, Jen. No glue is needed thanks to Impress's innovative breakthrough pre-bonded technology. You just pop the little lash clusters underneath your natural lashes in one easy step. Just press them, and then go. Each starter kit includes a nonstick applicator tool and 20 clusters in both medium and long lengths.
And there's different styles, natural, voluminous, spiky. Get one that's right for you. Get yours today at impressfalsies.com/fatmascara and use the code FATMASCARA to receive 25% off all Impress Falsies press-on products. That's impressfalsies.com/fatmascara and make sure to use the code FATMASCARA at checkout. Now everyone can lash.
All right, everyone, when Ritual came to us and said, we want to connect with your audience, we had a Fat Mascara Summit. We said, we're going to need some more information. And boy, did they ever come through.
That's right, they did. Ritual makes amazing supplements. Their new one called Hyacera. I did the research for you. Actually, they did all the research and then I reviewed it very closely. This is a new supplement that helps deal with the gradual loss of hyaluronic acid that happens to all of us as we age. That's why your skin gets drier, less supple, that crepey feeling that you don't love. Well, meet Hyacera, a once daily supplement from Ritual designed to promote skin support from within with clinically proven ingredients to minimize wrinkles after 90 days. So this is how they do that. There's two ingredients in there, Ceretique and Hyabest. In a clinical study done by an independent research lab, Ceretique proved to help reduce wrinkles and fine lines in 90 days. And then Hyabest significantly improved skin luster and suppleness. Are you feeling lustrous and supple, Jess?
Very. And you know what else I love, Jen? They are very easy to take. They don't have that big chalky sensation.
No, they go down easy and they're vanilla scented. Great skin, easy supplement taking. What else is there? So you can enhance your skincare routine. You use your topical, sure, but this is the inside out way to get better skin with a once daily capsule, and it's from Ritual.
Reduce wrinkles without compromising on clean science. Hyacera from Ritual is a skin supplement you can actually trust. Ritual is offering our listeners 30% off during your first month. Visit ritual.com/mascara to start Ritual or add Hyacera to your lineup today.
That's right, ritual.com/mascara.
Hey everyone, I'm Jess.
I'm Jen.
We are Fat Mascara.
Yeah, we are.
So today, we're going to be having a replay of one of my favorite episodes, The Laser Guy with Dr. Robert Anolik.
That's right. So we're airing this now. I was being strategic about this because I was thinking about you don't get your laser treatments or your light treatments during the summer. You can, but dermatologists recommend against it because you are ultimately fixing light damage and you want to stay out of the sun for like a good, I mean, honestly, we all want to stay out of the sun. You're going to wear a ton of sunscreen, but like you can't even go like outside in the summer if you just had a laser treatment, even with SPF 50 and like a hat. It's just like, get your money's worth, do it when the summer is over. When it finally cools down and the days are shorter, that's when you want to get your laser treatments done. And Robert Anolik is the guy to guide you through that. He specializes in cosmetic dermatology. He's a board-certified dermatologist and laser skin surgery. He's also professor of dermatology at NYU. And now this originally aired in 2019. So it's an excellent primer on how laser therapy works, laser facials, just how light therapy works in general. So it'll give you good basics to think about some treatments if that's something that you're interested in doing for yourself. But I was thinking, Jess, it could be time to do a little laser update as well. What do you think?
Well, we've talked about lasers tons, but we only have one laser dedicated episode. Oh no, we've got to get back. We've got to get back.
We do, because there's been some
major,
new devices since then.
1,000%.
Yeah. Okay, stay tuned for Dr. Robert Anolik, the laser guy.
You're already giggling like crazy because I do not think he likes being in this little studio.
Well, there's very little ultraviolet rays, so I'm very impressed.
That's true. Our soundproof studio is kind of small. He said it looked like the Instagram tiny room.
Yes.
Let's get that started. I don't know, like Fat Studio. I don't know.
Fat
Hashtag
Studio.
Yes.
Welcome, Dr. Anolik.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. You came here after a tough day at work, a long day.
All day
injections.
running around. Injecting, lasering, all day. Hours and hours of it.
All right, we're going to get to that.
Yeah, sure.
I was about to say, you look quite youthful. You are
thanks.
very like youthful person. I feel you have a very young energy.
I love
feel
that.
You remind
Not
me.
bad for 82.
I never said this to you, but you remind me of like my friend, and he's very like we've been friends since we were like 14, and I feel like he still looks like that, and you remind me of him. It's a very youthful vibe.
I love that.
But the funniest thing is like I feel I've known your name forever, and you are like kind of legend in the business.
My goodness. I'm going to come here every day if I hear this.
You're going to come back to this little like
I look
hut.
youthful, I'm legendary.
This little like Hansel and Gretel house. But you've been like, you're a top guy. So
Thanks.
this is a little bit of an embarrassing question, but like, what does it take to be like a top guy? I always wonder like who makes these like top guy lists
goodness.
in dermatology.
He was on Harper's Bazaar's list once, right?
He's on
called you the top.
Yeah, he's on our anti-aging awards panel, but he's also like, I mean, you are like the guy.
I appreciate that. A lot of it's like anything, hard work and luck. And, I've been working at this for years and years and years. And when I was finishing my medical training in medical school, I looked at dermatology. I started focusing that. And within dermatology, there's so many different areas to specialize in, from rashes and skin cancer and cosmetic work. I just had a knack for this. I did a lot of clinical research in this area, and then my outcomes were really good. So I just kept evolving with this, and I think a lot of my patients like the aesthetic that I have, and so that's why it's taken off.
What's the aesthetic that you have?
Well, I do think that a lot of cosmetic dermatologists have a gathering of patients who continue to come, and then their friends come along, and you can kind of get a sense of how people look. Some people... in Miami and Los Angeles, it is true that some people go to more extreme looks, maybe lips that are too large for a face to look natural, or too much of this, or too frozen that. And I really lean towards that more natural side. And I think that most of my patients walking out the door, you'll see that they look fresh, they look youthful, like your friend, I guess. But they look natural, and I think that people know that they don't have to be afraid if they walk in, and they're going to walk out looking good too.
You also have a reputation as like the laser guy, right?
I love that too. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's in your practice is laser and skin surgery. It's right there in the name, right?
Sure, we do a lot of it.
Okay, lasers can be very confusing.
Very.
And other light devices as well. So I feel like we need to do a little physics lesson before we get into this episode.
Yes.
Dr. Anolik, what is a laser and how does it work?
I love that question.
Okay.
Because they're not all the same. Let's talk about physics. Beams of light are forms of energy. And that form of energy can either bounce off of something and it goes into our eyes and we see the colors. So if something looks yellow, it's because a beam of light bounces off something and comes into our eyes and we see yellow. Or a beam of light can target something and instead of bouncing off, it can be absorbed by that target. So we use lots of different lasers to target specific things in the skin by using wavelengths of light that will be absorbed by that target. So if we're targeting pigment, we have lots of different wavelengths that can be absorbed well by pigment particles called melanin. If we're targeting blood and birthmarks and blood vessels that are just a cosmetic nuisance, we have other lasers that can specifically target those. But we have to know how to use them, why we use them, different wavelengths, different energies based on the size of the blood vessel, let's say, if it's large or if it's small. And then we do use a lot of other lasers that are absorbed by especially water. Water sits around all the collagen in our skin. So if we can create pinpoint heat among all those layers of water around the collagen. Using light.
Okay.
We are stimulating a heat response and a collagen building response, almost like tricking the skin into a healing phase where it recognizes damage from the sun and the ability to produce new collagen to restore or rejuvenate the skin.
And how would a laser be different than something like LED lights, light emitting diodes and treatments with that, or IPL, intense pulsed light? Is that still a laser?
They're not. So people call anything that uses energy a laser. I've noticed that not just with IPL, which is technically not a laser, but even things like all therapy and thermage and cool sculpting.
And those are like radio frequency.
Totally different.
Not a
Exactly.
laser.
There are other forms of energy. So there's Einstein really is behind all of our beautiful skincare.
Nice.
This idea of this electromagnetic energy spectrum that we can choose from, these all sit within this. So there's light and there's radio frequency and other forms. So yes, tightening devices like thermage use radio frequency. IPL is actually using many wavelengths of light. So we're not just targeting one that's absorbed by a specific target, but instead you're shining a bright light.
Okay.
I do favor certain strategies for targeting certain things. There is some overlap. Thermage has nothing to do much with a laser, but IPL does have some overlap, meaning an IPL stands for intense pulse light. You can target blood. You can target pigment. You can target collagen with this sort of device. But I generally find that it's not going to do something that a laser can do as well. So if I was let's say a rash dermatologist, a skin cancer specialist, but I wanted something, or I was in a rural area where I didn't have cosmetic patients all day where I was specializing in this, I could use an IPL to address a number of cosmetic concerns that a patient has.
Okay.
But if somebody had real frustrations with blood vessels or real frustrations with pigment, I'd be encouraging them to use certain lasers that I would have. And it's a luxury. We have everything, so I can pick and choose from so many options.
Lasers are like the big guns, literally.
They are.
And like you picture them like guns,
So here's
right?
here's a question. Like, I know that lasers have been around for a long time, like just as a tool in the world.
Yes.
But have lasers in skincare been used as aggressively as they are now, or is this kind of like a newer thing?
Well, they keep getting better and better. And so what that means to me is more effective and safer. Mm-hmm. In the 1960s, there was a laser called a ruby laser that was developed early on. And I don't think they understood how they were going to be using this. Now, on a routine basis, I reach for a ruby laser. But this laser can have good energies and large spot sizes, and I can target pigment particles because that beam of light that comes out of a ruby laser is absorbed by the pigment particle. So it is evolving over time.
All right. So we were talking about, the person who might just use IPL for this and the other thing, but you have all these, this amazing tool chest of
Arsenal.
lasers.
Can I go with my arsenal? My weapon analogy? Keep it going.
I'm trying not to make this frightening.
Sorry.
You know what's frightening? And I just want to say this, and I hope everyone really hears me. I'm thinking about, I guess this is with any doctor, anyone who has, tools that can help you or harm you. This feels so sophisticated. My eyes did kind of glaze over for a second when you were like talking about at one point.
It's
I'm thinking like, you need somebody behind, like, you need an expert with this stuff.
You don't want him to have master's level physics knowledge.
Master's, like
doctorate.
Doctorate. Okay, master's. No, forget that. Like doctorate with like extra bonus levels. Like
I will tell you though, I remember a dermatologist who was very funny said that our field is shooting itself in the foot because we're developing so many technologies that are so safe. So people really feel like cowboys out there, like anybody can do this. And I even yesterday I saw a patient come in who a couple of years ago went somewhere. It was she said it was her internist who does mostly family care and primary care, but decided that she was going to buy a laser or two.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to have her redness treated. Now, she didn't think twice about this is her doctor. I understand that. There's some level of respect and authority. You feel like this person knows what they're doing. But this poor patient who's going to have blood vessels treated on her face, she has a really big scar on her forehead. And that was from the laser being used
from
improperly.
The laser.
Yes.
Yes.
So that should never happen. And if you don't, these things can be simplified, but there's such a safety factor here, and you just don't want to mess around with it. If it's not your field, you shouldn't be working with it. And patients, please ask, are you a board-certified dermatologist? Do you do this every day? These are really important questions that you're being treated in a safe way.
There's such a specificity to everything you're talking about, and like I can turn the laser up a little bit this much, or maybe this one is the better thing. Like it feels so sophisticated, or is so sophisticated that this is frightening to think that there are little like laser, wizards around here just being like. There's so many little shops.
I've seen so
around
many
town
people with janky tattoo removal because they went to like the drive-by laser place and then it bubbles up and they end up with a burn.
It's really scary.
There's just it's almost being seen as like, oh, they'll just laser it.
Exactly.
I've heard things like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I want to get into just some specific concerns because I know people have are probably listening thinking, I have this, is a laser the answer?
Right.
So What about if you're somebody that has dark spots? I'm going to call them sunspots, but is that the right term?
Yeah. That's one of the biggest examples of brown spots on the face.
So something that wasn't there before.
Mm-hmm. So you can have the medical term for what people call a sunspot is a solar lentigo. I don't want your eyes to glaze over again.
Oh, no, look at me. I'm like, more. Let's do it.
But there's other kinds. There's ones that don't come out because of sun. They're just coming out genetically. And there are other freckles. Freckles are a little different as well.
I was going to get to that, but if you're going to bring it up, let's do it. Like, what's the difference between freckles, which I wasn't born with as a baby. You know, I wasn't like a freckly baby. Like they formed.
Right.
I'm predisposed to freckling. But, you know, like my friend, I'll just call her E. She texted me the other day and she was like, you know, I have a dot on my nose, and I'm like, I have many.
That's so E.
It is so E. She wants to go get it removed.
Right.
I'm like, well, my whole face is dots. So, like, what's the difference?
Right. Well, if you have one spot that really stands out, I could understand why cosmetically you'd want it removed. But another reason to see a dermatologist for a laser treatment is you want to make sure this is not, God forbid, a cancer or something dangerous that could happen. There's a lot of different reasons why you have spots. And, you know, you don't have to go and treat every freckle on your face. In fact, I don't even encourage that. If someone is naturally somewhat freckly and their friends and people know them that way, you can keep a lot of that and still look beautiful.
Are these solar lentigo?
It's too dark in this dark room. This little square box that you guys
See
have.
if Jess's freckles are indeed.
Well, if you can't really see them that well.
A freckle tends to get darker with more sun exposure and start to fade when you have less sun exposure. So you definitely see those come out in the summers. There are other brown spots that kind of stay the way they are that come about after years of sun exposure that we call solar lentigo or sunspots. And there are other brown spots that just come about because they're going to come about. We call them simple lentigo. And there's other brown spots too. There are benign growths that are so common, they sound crazy, called seborrheic keratoses. When they're flat, they can look like a sunspot, like a flat brown spot. There's a special term for that, but I won't say because it'll glaze over for you. But there are thicker ones too. So any of these really thin, small, dark brown spots that are on your body, especially the face, that seems to be the primary area that bothers people, but the neck and the chest too, and the hands, you can use lasers to target the pigment of that spot and make it go away. There are many types of lasers that you can use to accomplish this. I mentioned the ruby laser earlier. This is one of what we call Q-switched lasers. Q-switched is a physics term, but in general, we refer to them as Q-switched lasers. And there's Q-switched ruby lasers, and Q-switched YAG lasers, and Q-switched alexandrite lasers. And we have all of them in our office, and I sometimes pick and choose between different ones based on what the background skin type is. So if somebody has very fair skin like you, Jessica, I could really use any of those lasers, but I would probably use a ruby laser. But I wouldn't use that on someone who has darker skin. Like if a patient comes in with Indian skin or Asian skin, I have to be more cautious because they have a natural higher quantity of pigment in the background. So there are certain lasers that I can use that are safer in that setting.
Now, you didn't mention black skin or African-American skin. Is that because people with really dark skin have to steer away from lasers? I know that used to be a concern, but what's going on with that now?
People with black skin absolutely can have laser treatment. There are certain things that you can do far more easily, and there are certain things that you have to do extremely cautiously. So when you're talking about a dark brown spot, it is very challenging to treat a dark brown spot that's darker than the surrounding skin on black skin.
Right.
You can absolutely do it, but if I was in this setting where somebody came in and they had lots of them, I would try one first with certain parameters, certain safety profile, and make sure that you get a good result. The biggest concern with treating a brown spot on anybody's skin, whether it's fair skin or darker, is that you could alter the background pigment of the normal skin. You don't want to leave that
like a halo effect or something.
A halo effect, or if you, let's say, get rid of that brown spot, you don't want to leave a lighter area behind it. Now, that's extremely uncommon when things are done extremely safely. But when you're talking about a setting of a dark brown spot on darker black skin, it's much more challenging. You wouldn't want to just treat 50 spots without making sure that it was going to be perfect.
Do you think it's going to always be like that, or do you think that the lasers are getting better?
I think lasers are getting better, and I think that there are other strategies that might come about that allow us to do different things that we don't know about yet.
Jen, I love when I'm going to a wedding and I know that the people getting married are using Zola.
Yes. And you know right away because the save the date's there. It's all easy. I just went to a wedding. The couple used Zola and they even had a registry for like a no-fee cash fund. But they said in the little description that they were going to use the money to put together a garden in their new home. So I felt like I was like part of building their home together. And another good thing about Zola, if you're a guest, you don't have to bug them with all your questions. How annoying when you were a bride, when everybody was like, texting you 2 days before. Where am I supposed to be when? What time is this? What should I wear? If you use Zola, it's all there for them.
Oh my gosh, the details of like the bus and the hotel and I can't. I was just go to the website. You could say just go to the website. Thank you, Zola. I love that it also allows you to browse the couple's wedding website and learn about their personal story, maybe how they met, introduction to the wedding party. Super cute. I'm sorry, but I love that stuff.
Listen, when you're getting married, it's not just about the big day. It's about all the days along the way. And Zola's here for all of them. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com. Again, Zola.com. Make your life easier. Make your guest's life easier. It's great. I know we have some more concerns we wanted to ask you about, but this made me think, if I go to a doctor's office and they only have one laser and they're like really convincing me, oh yeah, this is going to do it, should I be wary?
You should.
They should have a whole
They made a big investment
plethora.
in one technology and they're going to want to use it. Now, I really feel that most doctors are ethical, and I just find that as a general community they are, but there's definitely going to be some push on their end to be able to pay off this one device. And also they want to make you happy and they want to use what they have.
How much do these devices cost you guys?
A lot.
Like hundreds, thousands of dollars.
Yes.
And how many of these little robot-y, rolly around machines do you have in your office?
Too many.
So,
But you have
dozens?
So many, yes.
Really?
But you can do that if you're using them a lot and you're treating a lot of patients, and it makes sense.
And you also test these things for some of the companies.
We have a clinical trials department in our office, and we have probably 20 clinical trials going on right now.
Oh, wow.
Many of them are with lasers that we're using. And some of them are not lasers.
Like little R2-D2, who's the guy from Star Wars? Right? They all kind of look like that.
That's my medical assistant.
It's funny. I was picturing the Muppets, like those, like the scientist Muppets.
Oh, no, I meant the laser machine, not him.
Oh, I was
you mean the crazy white hair?
Yeah, I was picturing them like doing tests. That's
This is why we're not doctors.
I can make them look a lot more youthful.
Okay, can we go on to another concern?
Yes, please.
Okay. What about how do you treat someone who has broken blood vessels or redness on their face? That seems like a very different concern.
Yeah. So it's a completely different approach in terms of what lasers we would use and how we would use it. We would be using lasers that have wavelengths of light that target the blood. The very common ones out there that you can see if your doctors out there have, if you're looking for them, are things like the V-beam laser, which is a type of pulse dye laser. But a V-beam can be very effective at pushing away redness and broken capillaries on the face. And again, because we have so many things, when I treat redness in my office, I use 2 lasers at once. I use that V-beam laser, and I also use something called an XLV laser. And the reason is that all these lasers and how we use them have advantages. And the XLV laser is far superior in my mind at getting rid of little lines and dots as opposed to the background pink discoloration. So do you know what I mean by that?
Like the telangiectasia things.
Telangiectasia.
Yeah, around your nostrils. A lot of people have them.
So if you see the little red lines that we call telangiectasia around the nose, and there's little red dots on the body sometimes that have a cute name called cherry angiomas.
I did DIY dermatology on my cherry angiomas. Early episode. Everybody go back. But continue.
But man, those can really be eliminated so quickly and easily when I use this XLV laser. But again, it's based on a different laser technology than what the V-beam laser is.
Which is more for like a rosacea-y face with
exactly.
like
a lot of background pink. And a good example, a way to understand that is if you've seen people who have those port wine stains, those birthmarks, you don't see actual little red lines and dots. Instead, it just looks pink.
Yeah.
I can use a V-beam laser to eliminate that in a different way than I treat just broken capillaries that are cosmetically frustrating. But that's the kind of background pink that we can target beautifully with a V-beam laser. So if you are looking to treat that and you see a doctor's office that has an XLV or a V-beam laser, they'll likely be able to help you well as long as they're experienced and they know what they're doing.
You're like an artist, like painting with light. To
I
put your
was,
stuff up.
I was thinking like, oh, he's like a chef. Like a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
It's somewhat like that.
So it's not, I think a lot of people, I'm sure you hear this as a doctor, people, maybe not so much with lasers, but certainly with like injectables, people come in and they say like, I want Juvederm. Or like, I want, Botox is maybe a little bit too
or
broad.
Fraxel, we said a lot.
Yeah, we were just literally saying that when you walked in, we're like, my friend has asked me for a Fraxel who like literally did not know,
Right.
she can't name one dermatologist. She's like, I need Fraxel. Yeah, she's like, give it to me, like looking to the sky.
And what does that even mean, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, like, with lasers, do people ever like come in and tell you what they want, or is it just like they're like, help me fix this? Like, is there a brand awareness with lasers? There
is some brand awareness. You're right that Fraxel is probably the highest brand awareness when it comes to a laser, and Botox is the highest brand awareness for an injectable. But there's a lot out there. The people who come out looking the best are those who say, "What should I do?"
They just show you their concern and let you treat it.
And then I can make a lot of recommendations as to what will help the most. I think one big difference in getting any of these things done, I mean, you asked about the brown spot and the blood vessels. What I also have to factor in when I'm giving advice is what can people do socially? I mean, what sort of social downtime can people have? Are people professional and busy and running around? They can't look like they've had anything done the next day or not. That affects what we can choose to do. With a brown spot, if we want to eliminate it, I can use many of those lasers that I mentioned, these Q-switched lasers. The problem is that you will be left on your face on that spot with a scab that will be there probably up to a week or so. So how can you do that if you're in front of people every single day? That's challenging. But if you have blood vessels, you can really do that pretty easily and the next day look pretty great. But with that, you do sometimes have to do that a few times to get your optimal result, as opposed to when you treat the brown spot and you do get left with a scab, often that spot is entirely gone with one try.
You brought up another concern. I think you're like, I have to worry about downtime. You know what else we have to worry about as patients is price. Like,
sure.
I know it varies so much depending on where you live, the type of doctor you have. But just to give us a ballpark, like, what is the biggest number that someone has walked out of your office after a laser treatment and like had to pay?
It's Jessica. What did Jessica?
Like, are we talking 5 digits?
Easily.
No.
$20,000.
I can't get into all that, but it can be
business manager's
expensive.
Going to kill him.
It can be expensive, but that's no one should ever feel pressure about that when they're getting a consultation with whoever they're seeing. I discuss this with patients. I can make recommendations, and when people ask me what they should do, a lot of it will be influenced by social downtime and what sort of things they can spend their money on, and if they need to strategize and optimize because they can't do everything, that's okay. I enjoy helping them prioritize what will make the biggest cosmetic impact and what they should focus on and what they should not focus on.
But I feel like sometimes doctors, when you go in the office, they don't know the prices and they just recommend, and then they're like, go talk to my business manager. Is it okay for a patient ever to ask the doctor, like, how much is that going to cost?
Right. I think that absolutely a patient should feel totally comfortable saying, I really can't do all this or I can't do all that, and help me figure out what's the best strategy with what I can do. And that's totally fair, and everyone should feel comfortable in any doctor's office. I can't stand that idea that someone might feel pressure from a doctor, and nobody should ever feel that way.
Yeah, so they should book like a consultation first before they like
Consultations are a big part
guns blazing, I need Fraxel, right?
Right.
I get it.
And we're going to talk about what Fraxel is in a second.
Should we?
Yeah. Why don't we keep on mentioning Fraxel? Since it is this a treatment that keeps on coming up a bit more, what is it exactly, and who is it good for?
Yeah. So Fraxel, I laugh. Patients sometimes ask me that, and I say, frankly, Fraxel is good for everybody. The reason I say that is that it is a collagen stimulator. Everyone's going to have weakening of their collagen layer as we naturally age.
This is one of the ones that does that water boiling thing that you were talking about to make. Okay,
exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. See, her eyes didn't glaze over.
Oh, I love this stuff.
I'm still with you. I just listen, just do it. Don't tell me about it. Just I need it to work.
So, big picture, the Fraxel, when you have that done, the goal is to improve fine lines and texture and to brighten the overall skin tone. Mm-hmm. There are several types of Fraxels that have the Fraxel brand name. There are 2 types of mild Fraxel Clear and Brilliance. There's 2 middle intensity Fraxels called the Fraxel Restore or the Fraxel Restore Dual. And there's a very strong Fraxel called the Fraxel Repair. There are many other kinds of lasers.
I think I need repair.
You don't. There are many other lasers out there that are similar to Fraxel. And I do find that sometimes people refer to everything as Fraxel that are similar. They're not all the same. Mm-hmm. But where the name Fraxel comes from is it is a fractional laser. So what that means is part of these advances in lasers that we've had since the 1960s, when these were really being developed in labs, is that when the laser touches the skin, it doesn't have to touch 100% of the surface, but instead can touch the skin in a fractional pattern or a pixelated pattern like newspaper prints or computer screen pixels. And we can control what percentage of the skin is touched and what percentage of the skin is not touched. And that is helpful because if you leave behind a small percentage of untouched skin throughout all the treated area, the skin heals more rapidly and it's so much safer. Back in the 80s and 90s when people would have these heavy-duty resurfacing lasers or deep dermabrasion or deep chemical peel that wiped off 100% surface of the skin could either come out beautiful or up to 20 to 25% of the time, there could be scarring and depigmentation.
This is like the Samantha Jones in Sex and the City.
Right. People refer to that all the time, and I have to see that episode.
Just trust us.
I'll send you a clip.
Send me the clip.
You'll get it. You'll laugh.
But I think that I've heard about it so many times from my patients, but I think that with that, it was the aftermath, right? Looking
she can't go to like the book party.
Right,
yeah.
right. So you can still look like that as you're healing based on which laser treatment we're talking about. But because the lasers are fractional, they're so safe. With the strongest version of the Fraxel that we were talking about, we published a study of 2,000 patients treated in our office, and none of them had scarring or depigmentation. And I couldn't say that would happen even with the most optimal skill for the technology that was around in the 80s and 90s.
What about melasma? I've heard some people, it's like this running underground myth that Fraxel triggers melasma. Does it?
Well, it's not a myth. If somebody is going to have melasma, they're going to have melasma. Melasma is this pigmentation that appears on mostly women's skin. The vast majority, 95% or more of the people who have melasma are women. It's a strange pigmentation that appears often between the eyebrows, on the upper lip, and on the cheeks. It's genetically driven. And then there are things that stimulate it to appear on the skin. And women's hormones are a big reason for it. So that's why most are women. So pregnancy can bring it out. Birth control can bring it out. Exactly. Mask of pregnancy is the name that they given to it. But even just starting birth control can bring it out. But it's not always only hormonally driven. It can be driven tremendously by the sun. So a lot of sun exposure can bring it out. So there are ways to treat it, and there are things that can make it worse. I would never say that Fraxel could make somebody get melasma because they're probably going to get it anyway.
Okay.
But if you have something that's very strong and irritating on the skin and you have melasma, it can make the melasma worse.
The irony here. You're trying to
it's
fix
a tug
skin
of war.
tone and then you make it.
It is. Yeah. It's a tug of war. So there are strategies for melasma. And I use the mildest version of that Fraxel called the Clear and Brilliant, and specifically the Fraxel Clear and Brilliant Permea, which is technically a certain wavelength of light that we use with that version of the Clear and Brilliant. And it is remarkably helpful for melasma. There is no cure for melasma. It is so frustrating. When somebody comes in with that cherry angioma that you described or the sunspot that you were describing earlier, I can very often confidently say, I really think this is going to go away. We're going to do this once or twice, and we're all going to be thrilled. When I have patients coming in for melasma, I don't have that level of confidence that it's just going to go away. In fact, I doubt it will just all go away. But I think that most people who do try to treat it with all the technologies that we have available can have their melasma improve. The other frustrating thing that all of my melasma patients have to keep in mind is that there is not a cure. So if we work on this and it gets better, but then they go out in the sun, it's going to come back.
Right.
So it's a treatment.
It's funny you mentioned the Clear and Brilliant. I did that in your office. It was so, it sounds like it was so great. It looked so amazing. But I really did see a great difference. Some people think that Clear and Brilliant you need to do it 3 or 4 times and then you see something. No, I did it once.
Good.
And people actually did notice. I didn't wear makeup for like a month. It was great.
Good.
But I know that when I left the office, I did say oh, P.S. I'm going to Florida in a week or 2.
Right.
I bought a big Coolie Bar sun hat. I brought my 100 SPF. I was I was like a nun at the beach.
Protecting your investment.
Yes, exactly.
Good.
Because I knew, listen, I had an appointment with Robert Anolik. I'm not going to mess that up. Come on, you kidding? But I wanted to know, I'm sure people come into your office and then they maybe don't always follow doctor's orders.
Of course.
What are some of the things that people do? And, for anyone contemplating a laser treatment, or really just any big derm, investment, what do you think that they need to do? Or what should they really listen to you about?
Right. Well, I do laugh when people don't use sunscreen. I mean, that
He laughs.
So it's
just walking down the street
it's absurd because they come in hoping to improve their skin, but 90% of the frustrations on our skin is from the sun. And I'm amazed also when people go and they say that they're using all these fancy products, but they're not using sunscreen because they're investing all this time and energy in something that's supposed to help their skin when they're not doing the number one product.
And does that mean like you can tell I feel badly about this because I put on sunscreen in the morning, but I'm really trying though to top up in the middle of the day. It doesn't always happen. Are you kind of like a stickler about that? Like
if you're at the beach, absolutely.
No, I mean like
but
work
if you're
day.
in this sort of black box that we're sitting
I'm
in right
literally
now, you don't need
Still freaking out about our tiny studio.
I feel like he thinks
I feel
like
like
we're
it
gonna
got smaller.
Do you have like a? Well, I'm claustrophobic. This is like. Do you think we're gonna like kidnap you?
I don't know what's going to happen.
Why don't you text
I
your
feel like
wife?
we're
Just
gonna
let
open
her
the door.
know
We're
where.
going to suddenly be in like Abu Dhabi.
Then we'd make the big bucks. That's also a time machine, and you can move through space.
Oh my god.
Okay, so we're sun safe in here.
Oh yeah,
we got that.
But what are patients doing that are
what
just
are
kind of
they-
ruining their skin aside from that, and protecting their investment? When you have these sorts of laser treatments, you don't want to be tan before you do it, and you don't want to get a lot of sun exposure in the days that follow. But the duration of how much time before and after has a lot to do with how strong the laser treatment is. And you can figure that out based on how much downtime you expect to have. So if you're going to have a procedure where you're going to be a little flushed pink for a few hours, I just ask people to be careful for a couple days before and several days after. So the fact that you went to the beach, it was a week after we did the clear.
It was about like 10 days after.
Yeah, that was fine. If you had asked me, I would have said that was fine. I don't remember if you asked or not, but it would have been fine because
I think I asked like as I was like walking out.
Probably as we were
bye.
finished.
I was like, I'm going to Miami. Bye. Thank you so much.
but it would have been fine, and it is fine, and nothing bad happens,
No.
right? Because you use the sunscreen and the cooler bar and all
Yes.
that stuff. So the reason we want people to be careful is that when the skin gets irritated or inflamed, even in a controlled way with the laser, which is actually helping the skin, if that interacts with pigmented skin beyond your normal pigment, or you get a lot of sun exposure, that combination of inflammation and ultraviolet light exposure can leave some sort of pigmentation on the surface of the skin.
PIH.
PIH.
The death of me.
Post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation.
Yeah.
But PIH, yeah. So it is frustrating. So yeah.
What about like if there is some irritation? What are some of the aftercare products that you like to recommend? Because I know you can't really use a lot of active ingredients right after you get a treatment, right?
Right. So if I wouldn't ever encourage somebody to use irritating ingredients in the days following while something is resolving. So, I wouldn't encourage you to go home and use your salicylic acid wash and your benzoyl peroxide wash and your, any sort of these irritating products the day after you have a Fraxel, since we're talking about Fraxel. Because your skin is going to be pink and a little swollen, you're going to be dry and flaky, and it's not going to respond well to further irritation.
So do I just slather on like petroleum jelly, or is there like...
Don't do that either. There's a tendency out there for people to grab Vaseline, right? Because it's so hydrating in their mind. The problem is that is completely occlusive. So if you slather that over your whole face, which I think some people do, even when we say don't, and they break out with acne because the pores are all clogged. But you can definitely hydrate well with any sensitive skin moisturizer. I mean, there's so many out there, the Neutrogenas, the Cetaphils, the CeraVes, and Oil of Olay.
Is Aquaphor more breathable? My friend who's a derm, she's like, I always suggest Aquaphor over Vaseline. These are just brand names, but
Yes.
there's other products like that because
Yes.
it is a little bit breathable. Is that true?
It's more that it's more hydrating because Aquaphor and Vaseline don't differ, except that Aquaphor also has lanolin in it, which is a moisturizing agent.
Okay.
So it feels a little nicer, sits a little nicer.
Unless you have a lanolin allergy.
Unless you have a lanolin, exactly.
Which I've heard more and more people talk
have
about.
it.
Yeah.
People have it.
That's the
Yeah.
sebum of a wool or of a sheep, if
That's
anybody
right.
wants to know. Okay. So gentle products, no actives afterwards. Got it.
What about if you can't swing a laser treatment? Like, what's the next best thing?
Yeah. So prevention, right, of course. And it's going to be hard to compete with a laser if you're trying to
Sure.
improve pigment or work with collagen. There are superficial peels, which people can use, even superficial peels that people can use at home that are
That's not going to happen with redness, though, but that's more for the
pigmentation issues and
Yeah.
some clogged pores. I mean, glycolic peels on a regular basis are helpful.
yeah.
Sal acid peels or salicylic acid washes for acne are extremely helpful. So you can do those things and improve the quality of the skin. And, I'm sure you've talked about retinols quite
Yeah.
often on this show.
Yeah.
Retinol is the most effective topical product that you can use to reverse the damage that you've seen on your skin from the sun.
Do you like people to do that before they come to you to sort of like get their baseline better before they see you, or...
it would take so many
Reason.
years of using that to compete with what
What you
could
can do
get.
and-
Yeah.
Is there a product that you really like? Like a retinol that you really like, or an
What's in
at-home
Dr.
peel?
Anolik's medicine cabinet?
Well, I use the prescription retinoids. I use tretinoin, which is the generic form of Retin-A. There's not one that you could use. Skin Medica makes them, Elastin makes them, Neutrogena makes them, Rock makes them in terms of retinols.
Yeah.
And I tell people to use the one that's going to be not irritating on their skin. And that could be the formulation of the retinol, or it could be what it's delivered in, the serum or the solution or the moisturizing components that come with it.
Okay, and if sunscreen's so important to you,
Yeah.
what sunscreen do you use?
So I mostly use Neutrogena, and I also use the Anthelios. Those are the two.
The La Roche-Posay
La Roche-Posay
and
and
Helios.
Helios. Yeah. I think those have really the broadest coverage and hold well. And I always use an SPF of 30 or higher.
And are you cool with I like a chemical sunscreen and a physical sunscreen, so
Sure.
I'm getting all the wavelengths covered?
The physical sunscreens are the most effective. That's the zinc and the titanium. But the ones that truly act as a physical blocker, the zinc and titaniums, do make the skin look pasty white.
Oh, I don't mind. I look like I have toothpaste on my face, but then it's working,
You know it's working. And
I guess
if you don't mind looking like that at the beach, but, day to day.
Yeah, you're not going to put it on.
You won't put that on.
Yeah.
So, but, I if you're using any sunscreen SPF 30 or higher, you should be in good shape.
And what do you wash your face with?
So that's where I'm really simple. So I've Cetaphil at home.
Cetaphil.
It's
Doctors
always
love
like a
Cetaphil.
You guys love it.
We do. It's weird, isn't it?
I
I've been
feel
using a lot of the
There's like a
Elastin
Cetaphil
one, too.
lobby out there that's hitting up all the doctors' offices. What about some nice CeraVe or a little
I love CeraVe moisturizer, especially because they're packed with those ceramides, which we have in our skin. Those are oils, and they're anti-inflammatory. And I feel like we're complementing all the natural ceramides we have in our skin when we're using that on the body.
Okay. That's a
those
good one,
people,
too.
sometimes, I don't, not that I treat so much of the dry skin and eczemas that are out there, but when patients mention they have it, I encourage them to get a jar of that CeraVe moisturizing cream for that reason.
Who knew you were so cheap and cheerful? I love it.
I know, right?
Because you're spending $10,000 on your laser, so you need like the $5
exactly.
face
That's all the
wash.
money you've got left. Thank you so much. Very
thank
informative.
you.
Thank
I
you.
hope so.
It was.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
It's your reviews and feedback that help us make the podcast even better. Head over to iTunes to rate and review us, or email your thoughts to info@fatmascara.com.
We also want to answer your beauty questions and hear what products you love. To share a Razor One product review or to ask a beauty question, email us at info@fatmascara.
If you send it as a voice memo file, we can even share your voice on the podcast. You can also do that by leaving us a voice message. Our phone number in the United States is 646-481-8182.
Thanks so much for listening.